Good evening, all. Got a little Monday night stream. Got some stuff to get done, or at least get out of the road. I thought we'd do a hollow form. Kind of pick two corners that look halfway square, and just gonna call that the center. And also have it marked for a bottom. And we're gonna use a pretty good sized tenon on it, so might as well set that right away. Yeah. So this will start between centers. Probably can just get away with a steb center, I would think. Challenge is holding it still enough to get it set. So our block is about 7 inches long, about 6 inches square, thereabouts on the square part. It's pretty much spindle kind of work, at least to start with. Got tool rest enough. That's sort of always make sure everything's going to clear. Close up the curtains so we don't have the mess everywhere. Face shield. I think we'll start off with a spindle roughing gouge. I'm not sure it's really sharp enough to do the job. One other thing to get rid of. As everything else, it won't be in balance, so we gotta start out a little slower. Nibble off the corners. This is literally the most time-consuming part of the whole job. You can't really take giant-sized cuts, so might be able to get it just. Yeah. Getting closer. We could also use our bowl gouge too to do this. In some ways, it's actually maybe a little faster to do it with the bowl gouge, especially if you had one that was actually sharp. Let's see how tall it really is. No, not sharp at all. Actually, has it to where it's close. Pretty close. A little bit more and we'll be there. Doesn't have to be really perfectly round at this point. Now we should be able to actually get a little speed out of it though. There's still just a tiny little flat spot. That's good enough. More than good enough. So we'll mark where our tenant's going to be. Probably would be better if I would. It's not very straight down there. So we'll get this straightened up. It's a good part of where we're picking up the vibration at too. Looks like the majority of it was way out here in no man's land. Now I probably went in just a shade too far yet. That's probably pretty close. Don't touch it. What happens when you touch it with the right leg? It can go a little bit smaller. A bit of a crack in it down there. As long as the crack don't end up in the piece, the tenant's going to be more than big enough to accommodate that. Another, I'm not cutting very straight. Now I got this cut at a way big taper. This is what happens when your wife goes away on a Monday evening. Decide you should do some playtime. Of course, I've been working down here pretty much all day today. It could have been a little smaller. But it's a big surface area, so it'll be fine. Right now, I'm going to bring a tailstock back up. We'll shape At least get this end up here straightened out because it's a little cattywampus. That's good. So now it's time to make some decisions. There's still 6. Go to 6. We'll try it at that. So that would make that our high point. Somewhere thereabouts. We just sort of give it a round kind of a shape. Good place to start. I'll take a little bit more off of there, but it's okay. Bad part of using the bigger chuck. This is going to get in the road. I'm just going to sort of give it the traditional kind of hollow form shape. It's not going to be that overly pretty. It's not a very pretty piece of wood, so definitely going to have to do something decoration-wise. Oh, not too bad. Get rid of the rest of this. I think we could take more off down there, but I think what I'll do is I'll finish up the top and we'll hollow it down into here, and then we'll taper that some more. I want to leave as much mass down there as I can. It'll make it easier in the hollowing. It won't have a super small hole to hollow through anyhow. I think that'll work. So we can get rid of the live center. Tailstock back as far as what we possibly can, because the hollowing rig takes a fairly good amount of room. And I haven't put it away yet, so it's still sitting over here. So that makes life a little easier. We'll need a handle. And this is probably just going to be strictly overhead because I don't, this is going to go get in the road of the other camera. We can take a look at it then, but don't think I'll be able to use the camera coming in from the side. I do have to drill a hole in this thing. So I do need a drill hole, place to drill in. Get my drill bit started. If the piece of tape cooperates and comes off. Probably not. Oh, good. So we'll drill down to about that depth there. Slow our speed down a little bit. That's that. Pretty simple to drill with. It's just a very long drill bit, really is all it is. Now I'm drilling it by hand. It's not attached to anything. It has a handle on it. And it'll let you know if you don't drill straight, because then it wants to go crazy. So now we can use our straight boring bar. We'll use it by hand. And we'll open up the hole. And I'm going to have to remove the tailstock though. Forgot that from the last time. I'll just make it a little easier. I don't want to bang into, if I bump into something with the handle's going to go where I don't want it to go. All I'm doing is opening up the hole to about an inch or so. All I'm doing is sticking it straight in, find a hole, and then make a cut to the side. At this point, the chips do sort of come out because there's no, well, I thought they were. There's no giant sized ledge for them to hang up on in here right now. So some of them are coming out. And we're down to there so far. This is the part that doesn't take super long because there's no real science to it except just get rid of the material. Once you get enough chips in there, then they start to gather around. What'll happen is it'll pick the bar up off the tool rest. I think I'm pretty close. No, not quite. There's still the drill hole. My drill hole is getting full of chips. Because all I'm doing is feeling for sticking it in and going to the side. We're close though. Close to the bottom of the drill hole. I think we're there. Probably gonna have to wheel my shop vac over. Easier than reaching in there with my fingers all the time. So now I should be able to actually open this hole up the same straight tool. Feels like it's still sharp enough. I think I should put that on a longer handle. Get a little heavier. When you're doing this by hand, it's definitely a little bit different. The tool itself is pretty heavy, but a little bit longer handle won't hurt. It's not a very big cutter either. But now we're going to sort of reach over. At least I think we're going to reach over. You sucker. Flip that around that way. That's not very nice. Too much stuff in the road. That's sort of out of the road for the moment. We'll be using that in in a very short moment here anyhow. It's rather warm in there too. Where? There it is. Now I have a little piece of bent wire to pull these out. I think that'll get us from about here up, I think. This gets a handle on it too. I don't really have a, should set up a camera sometime so you can see the whole thing. It's just a bent articulating sort of arm on it. And we will have the laser. So we need our little stuff for that. Because we're going to come in on an angle about like that to do up under here. So we need the dot to be in the right place. I think we'll set it at about 3/8 of an inch. That's where we'll start. You can always take more off. I haven't gone through the side one yet, so it'd be exciting if we did. The bent part has to be beyond the tool rest, where it will have no support. Hopefully we don't have to, don't think we should have to increase the size of the hole. I'm not sure how big the hole actually is. Not real big. You know, it's almost an inch and a quarter. Everything locked down tight. Get an idea what it's going to feel like. I don't remember the last time when I used this. There's sort of a happy medium as to what the speed is that it wants to run at. That's probably too fast. Really all I'm doing right at the moment is really still making more room. This is where I should take the time just to go get the shop. I have a little one right here behind me. That pit has just a few holes in it. This is actually for the bandsaw. This little slot slides onto the top of the door, and this goes right around the bandsaw blade. So as it cuts, it sucks the dirt right away from the blade. Works really good. As you see, how a lot of the wood that I cut is wet. Okay, so we're made some room. We need to measure up in here. So it doesn't really feel like it's overly. Might have to open that hole up a little bit. I can't quite get around the corner where I want to go. So we measured up in here, and then I went back behind it to relieve some more material, make more room. So I measured, really only measured to about there. Also, I want to check where I have that sitting at. That's where you don't want to get ahead of yourself. Because it's not really, wasn't quite where I want it to be. So that'll put us just off to the nose of the tip, which is pretty much where I'm cutting at, I think. Because there's a big ridge right here. And we'll just have to work on it. Need to move my tool rest over. I'm getting out close to the end of this bar. Probably would be smart if I put the pin. There's a pin you can put in so that I don't get carried away up here. I'll probably get in my road now though. Let's see. We're getting there. Feels like feels like it's pretty consistent. Don't feel like it's 3/8 of an inch thick to me, but feels more like 1/4 of an inch. Outback is definitely an easier way of getting rid of the chips in there. Okay, so we're down to about here. So I probably should take the hollowing off and finish up from there down. So I know where I've hollowed to. I think that's what I'll do. Take that off and that's kind of the wonders of this setup is it's very simple to take it on and off. Kind of the reason that I elected to get this one. Now if I only had a place to sit it, would be better. This really, it doesn't necessarily, well, you can actually see it on the screen. You can see when you look down this side of it that it's sort of flat right here. So I need to make this curve a little bit more. I'm not going to make it be a super thin at the bottom. Personally, I don't like those myself. A lot of people like the ones that go down to really, really small at the bottom. I just don't, just doesn't do much for me. Of course, I really wouldn't have to take it down the whole way either. Can do this a couple times, do it in a couple stages. That sort of looks better. So if that continues on, that'll be smaller than what the tenon is down there, which I think is about what I want. I should do more of these. I don't know that I really have a very good market for them. But I didn't feel like I should be making more trees, but I did that most of the day yesterday, so I'm kind of treed out for the day. I did bring some more material over to make more trees, but so should be able to come up considerably further. Go back just a little bit. Turn our laser back on. Verify that nothing has moved. Okay, I'm going to move it a little bit. Maybe not. Never know. I took a class using this to. I don't necessarily remember what all he was trying to teach us on where to put the laser at so you don't blow through the side. Keep it a little bit in front of the cutter. Try that. Yeah, right there, it's falling off the side over here. I set that the wrong. It should be 3/8. We're gonna have a whole bunch of material to clean out first. Barbara's running out of places to go. Don't feel too bad. There's some definite waves to it, but up in here I did a better job than down there. So we're down as far as my finger can reach. So we're down at about in there to where we measured it and hollowed it. So now I have a smaller hole down here, which is where I gotta get back into that smaller hole and keep making that hole bigger so that I can get out to the side. And I'd like to know when you're being a little too rambunctious on it. But like I say, you can't see what you're doing. You're doing everything by feel, basically. If you take too big of a cut, it wants to vibrate and do that kind of good stuff. You can bring our tool rest up a little closer. Less overhang, less vibration. Still not totally sure I have that set where it should be. That's pretty much where I'm cutting at, is right on this corner here. When I get in there and get too aggressive, then the whole thing is, the whole bit is actually sharp. It's sharpened on both sides. Not quite sure what this side would really need to be sharpened for, but it shows right in there that I'm not quite as thin as what I think I am. Of course, that also means that's a place that they could already be thinner than what we think they are. And you can't really, oh, there you can see the laser come up. I was say what, I have to really move the camera in a weird place to be able, so that you could see the dot. What I do is I'm looking for it to get basically elongated. That's pretty much where I stop. I don't let it drop off. Kind of time consuming. Quite warm in there too. Lots of friction. Now my fingers are not really long enough, so now you're just going by faith, I guess you'd call it. It feels all right. Like I say, it's a little wavy. You tap on it, use your finger and tap on it. You can hear where there's more material at. That's what those guys do that do this without any laser. They're constantly tapping on it, and it changes tune as far as the sound it makes too. It looks like I can get to the bottom, or that area down in there. Follow the bouncing ball. And clean out chips. And this would be an end grain hollowing, so the chips are small. If you do one that would be side grain, like a bowl orientation, then the chips become long and stringy, and they're really a pain. We've only done a couple of them like that. And the wetter they are, the harder they are to get out of the vessel too. Take our laser one more time. That's right. It feels, I really can't feel very far in there, but it feels like it's getting thicker, which it shouldn't be. According to that, it shouldn't be. So I'll go back up in here and the farther down you go, the harder it gets. And you're still down into about here. So at this point, we might just up and take the rest of that down. I could even switch back over to the straight bar because I could do the rest of it with a straight bar, but this is a Trent Bosch system. And when I took the class with him, he didn't like the straight bar for down there. He was pretty quick to show you that you can do it all the whole way down through, even the very bottom with the curved bar. I don't want to get too carried away. Could get my flashlight and take a peek too. Yeah, I think I'll finish my shape because, like I say, I'm down into here. I think we can check it without it running. And I'm down into about here. So I think I'll take that down to where I want that to be. And that way we'll know where we're going to. We got sort of and now that I made that curve, it's going to leave a hump right there. We're not hollow into there. Here's where we could destroy it in a hurry. Yeah, that looks better. I gotta work. I say I'm gonna have to get my spindle gouge out pretty directly if I go any smaller in diameter down there, because the bowl gouge I'm about ready to hit the wings, which would be less than a good thing to do. Take a big chunk out down there. Don't sound a whole lot different down there either. We'll see. Tiny little crack coming up through there. It's not always a great thing. Comes down there and goes up there, which I knew there was a little bit of a crack in there. I guess where we're going to start, right down there. Just lower speed down. That's one thing with this hollowing tool. It doesn't. I was trying to figure out what per speed it really likes. Not quite that slow. I'm used to doing things at faster speed, and it just doesn't. For whatever reason, it doesn't seem to like. A lot of material down in there to get rid of. think my batteries just died in the... Yep. And we have more. Question is, where they be? Right there. When I bought this Star Craving Metal, I had already bought this system, and he made it sound like the batteries didn't last hardly at all. So I guess the real pain is to get a marker and mark that so that I don't lose my spot. It's probably the easier way of doing it is just to take it off. I think that's what I did the last time. Because it holds 3 of them. The real challenging part is to actually get them to drop back down and stay upright. This is where you could have an extra pair of hands or something maybe. Well, that went easier than the last time. Last time I couldn't get, they didn't want to cooperate and stay in the proper direction. It should theoretically go right back in the same place because there's metal and little metal grub screws like that sort of create themselves a divot in there anyhow. But we're going to check and make sure. Because this is definitely not the time and the place for it to go through. We did move it a little bit somehow or another. It's definitely a plus to have this, being able to move it in basically 2 planes. So they were pretty much sort of straight out from the tip. We might as well clean that out. I thought I was feeling a hump in there. I stick my finger in. No, I'm not going to mess with it. If I go back up in there, it's just going to chatter. So we're down in, there is a hump right there though. Maybe, maybe not. There's a thin spot right there. I think it was at the bottom of my drill hole, the flat one. That's living life dangerous. That straight tool going straight ahead in the very bottom like that, it can remove a whole lot more material than what you think it does. So I am at the bottom of my drill hole. That's what I was after, to make sure I was there on that. And I also flattened this out a little bit in there. So now we should be able to take our curved bar and come across there. All of a sudden, I must have bumped the speed because it picked up a vibration. Here's where you almost need a mirror to watch what it's doing up here. A little hard to see, even for me. I'm trying to be nice and gentle up in there. That way I get a little bit cleaner cut and all that good stuff. So we're almost to the bottom. Still definitely some meat in the very bottom, but that meat in the very bottom of that really wouldn't hurt anything. If it's a little heavier on the bottom, that way if somebody bumps it or whatever on the table, it won't fall over. Take a little peek. Not that it really will show me much. So we'll go in here and take a peek without it running. It really doesn't show me. Shows there's a clump of material right in there. Alright, laser, what'd you do? Really? I think that's going to be good enough. For whatever reason, my laser didn't. Can imagine the battery shouldn't have crapped out that quick. Oh, that's weird. Made in China batteries. What do you expect? But I think we're as far down there as what I'm going to take it anyhow. That's definitely weird. Made in China batteries, I guess. Try that and see. Try putting a new set in and see what it does. Sort of a lot of vibration on the laser itself. Sitting up there, out there in no man's land on the bar. That seemed to fix it. That's just weird. Certainly didn't get much mileage out of those batteries. Okay. So take that off. I'll use the regular tool rest. Because I do try and clean up the inside of it a little bit. with a scraper. It's on another boring bar type thing. And that one I do use by hand, because it's not removing tons of material for one. And it doesn't seem to be aggressive. Really all it is it's just this teardrop scraper. Just sort of has a sharp edge on it. At least it should be sharp. It'll help me smooth up. I really am only considered about that much down in to be even halfway smooth. Because there'll always be somebody going to stick their fingers in there. I'm just as guilty as the rest of them when it comes to that. Our turning club meeting last week there. Yeah, that should be about the right height, I think. There was a guy brought in a hollow form that he had did. And that's sort of the first thing I do with it. Stick my finger in to see how well he did on the inside, as far as you could reach with your fingers, put it that way. This wants to head downhill all the time. You sort of have to be careful with it because you think it's not really removing much, but it is. You'd be amazed how big of a pile of chips will fall out of this just with that little bit. And I only went part way down. I'm not worried about down in there. It's one of them places that I could sort of care less. This is relatively smooth up in here. I could stick my finger in there and sand it somewhat. So I think that's where we're going to go next, is we're going to sand the outside and go from there, because I think we're going to put a little dye on it. As it does have, it doesn't have any figure in the wood, but it has dark and light areas. I guess I should do something about figure out what I'm doing down here a little bit. And we'll switch over to the spindle gouge now, so I can get in this area down here a little easier. I could make that like a, you could give it a little bit of a foot down there, except the foot's going to crack right off anyhow. So I guess we'll bag that idea, the foot. But I need to know where, I need to know where that bottom is at. And the bottom's way up there, so we're good. I'm just going to use my parting tool. We'll go in there just a little bit, and that's going to be our bottom. Get rid of some of this. Just so I can, makes it easier to get in there to sand. So this we can power sand very easily. We'll go in reverse, back down to a sanding speed. So we're going to try and get rid of our any tool marks that we might have. And we'll have to sand that opening a little bit then. A little place that chipped out a little bit. There's not much I'm going to do about that. A little wormhole, a little crack there that we'll have to deal with. Put it after the fact a little bit. Looks like there's a little bit of a hump right there. That'll be good. So from there, you get some gloves. We're going to start the dyeing process. We're going to do it 2 different colors of blue. I'll put the darker one of the 2 on first, and then we'll finish sanding it, and we'll put the lighter blue on. Because there's enough darker streaks in there that the darker blue should make them more pronounced. At least that's my thought. Royal blue. We have a regular blue. The royal blue is sort of a bluish green. I'll turn my dust collector off for this job, because it is an alcohol-based dye. I'm not really trying to put a real heavy coat on. This is also going to show me some scratches where they're at. Even though I've only went to 220, but if there's deep scratches, it's going to show me right here. As soon as you put color on anything, it shows that more so. So that's our dark blue. Fold our paper towel and just lay it over the edge of the trash can. Like I say, it is denatured alcohol, so it is very flammable. It also has a little bit of shellac in it. I'm going to use a dampened paper towel with the alcohol, and I'll rub back over it, and it's going to pull some of the blue back off right off the bat. But more so, it's going to help dissolve the shellac, because the shellac is what's going to clog up my sandpaper very quickly. I may even use a little bit of sheet sandpaper to get started back sanding with it. Give it a spin, let it start to dry. It's wonders of alcohol. Alcohol does not take very long to dry. Her name was Jimmy Clues. He'd light it on fire right there. But I don't have any interest in burning my house down. And you see it's going to gum up the sandpaper. As you can see, as we cut it back, it's going to give us some some shadow lines in through it. That was 320. I just continue on with the hand sanding for a little bit. Sheet sandpaper is a whole lot cheaper than it is to use those round discs. The problem with sanding like this is I'm leaving nice concentric scratches the whole way around it. Why you don't lay that drill over on your arm, because the on and off is underneath it. I dug that pad right into my arm, place it right open. All I need to do is spray a little alcohol in there. That'll feel nice. I'm going to spray it with alcohol, just basically to open the pores back up. It'll accept the dye better. And just wipe off the excess. And then we'll go on to our next color. See what it does. See whether it looks presentable or not. This sucker's not going to stop bleeding. Pain in my ass. It's not long enough to go. Hang on. To get a paper towel that goes the whole way around my arm. I don't get along overly well with the sight of blood, especially my own. Piece of masking tape. And get it really tight. Now, okay, so this paper towel we just used for that, so we'll just use it for our royal blue. See if it adds a different shade of color to it. Maybe so, maybe not. A lot of times once this dries, which will be overnight, some other day this week, I'll sand it a little bit. Like any of these places that are light in color is going to come out a little bit different color anyhow. You almost have to wait for it to dry completely. Once again, I'm dissolving the shellac as well as lightening some areas up. You can see we got some streaks. It's really tempting to try and put a little yellow in there. This is where I'll get it. This is usually where I get in trouble, to try and keep messing around with certain places. So if I fold my paper towel over, I just use the corner of it. And just try and follow those little lines a little bit. They're probably going to show up more so green than anything. And blend it in a little bit. Nothing else, it gives me some green streaks going up through. Lots of alcohol on it, and it'll make it all blend in. Worst case scenario, yeah, worst case scenario, you don't like it, you can always sand it back off. Because it is still, at least for today anyhow, it is still round. And it would be very easy to sand this back off. Hit some of these little spots that are sort of light in color already. Hardest part on this is knowing when to quit, which is usually my problem. I'm never quitting soon enough. I'll just go back over it a little bit more with the blue, just to tone them down a little bit, blend them in a little bit more. Those areas where I put the yellow in and sprayed all the alcohol when it sort of takes some of the dye back off. So I just go over the whole thing one more time. Make those areas a little bit more muted than what they are. I think that'll be all right. Let it dry. Finish it another day. Because it's time to call it a day. You got to go back to work tomorrow. Certainly not a figured piece of wood, but it'll give it a different look. One last little wipe with alcohol. Like I say, this particular dye has like 5% shellac in it. And this will get finished with my typical super glue, so it doesn't always agree with that, but a little white down there pretty much takes what's on the surface and dissolves it. It will get sanded a little bit. I'll sand it with like 800 or something like that before I finish it. And I'll have to sand a little bit on the inside too. That's it. That's our project for the night. I don't think that wood was really wet, but I don't like leaving anything in the chuck. I don't want my chuck to rust. I'm just gonna take a little picture of it. That's it. That's all we're gonna do for tonight. Normally I'm only here on Sundays. Actually, it'll soon be Saturdays because another 2 weeks, something like that. We rebid our jobs every 6 months, and for the next 6 months, I took a job working Sunday through Thursday. So we'll start, like I say, in 2 weeks or so. We'll be doing our streaming Saturday evening. So there it is. It's not overly impressive, but it's got some color to it, so that's half the battle. So let's see if I know how to do this. Put a little reel out there on Instagram. I'll have to figure that out. Like I say, that's going to be it for us tonight.